In this documentary from Arnon Goldfinger, he and his family clean out their grandmother's apartment after she passes.
Now we have a difficult task to decide what stays and what goes.
But they discover letters from his grandparents that reveal a shocking past.
What is Nazi propaganda doing in my grandparents' flat?
Arnon tries to unravel the mystery of his family's history in The Flat.
Hi, I'm Liz.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Rachel.
And we've gathered here today to discuss a new documentary, The Flat. We've all just seen it. Sean, why don't you start us off?
Israeli documentarian Arnon Goldfinger, his grandmother has died, and he and his family go to her apartment and start discovering letters which reveal that Arnon's grandmother had some interesting relationships during World War II.
Arnon is also credited as the producer, the director, and the writer of this film. What I think a really good documentary does is it puts that story together without the crafter sort of pointing you in one direction or another or giving you his biases, and it's hard to not do that, but I feel like films that are more neutral, like this film, are really effective because you get to watch and you get to make your own decisions.
Our director is also a subject in the film. Arnon is interviewing people, but he's also behind the camera a lot of the time. It's said in the film that he loves books, and there are these sequences of people just throwing books into boxes and talking about how her books are worthless. You sit there and you watch these books just destroyed, and you feel for him.
Yeah, basically what happens is these people go through the grandma's old apartment and they throw out the vast majority of her belongings.
They take this armoire and they just throw it over the edge of the apartment building, and it's incredibly depressing, and it's done really in this verite kind of way where you're just watching it happen.
And it's nice that it's not over-sentimentalized, especially because this film does deal with the Holocaust. There are so many films that really get into the emotion of it, and they want you to cry and they want you to feel, and this film manages to sort of skid around the surface of that, but by staying on the surface, you can see what they are for these different characters.
The most fascinating characters in this documentary are what's called the second generation, these people who are direct descendants of those who were involved in World War II. These people don't ask questions of their parents. Either they don't want to know or they aren't expected to ask, maybe a combination of all of these things, and they don't have a lot of information. Arnon is asking his mother specifically about what happened with his grandmother, and she just doesn't know anything.
כי שכבר היינו יותר גדולים, למה אף פעם לא דיברו איתנו על זה והראו לנו את זה? פשוט הדחיקה את זה, היה לה איזה מין, כנראה כל השנים איזו הרגשה לא נעימה עם הנושא אומה. לא יודעת.
Arnon is a documentarian, and he's all about investigating these family secrets. But it's that contrast of him caring so much as the subject and the documentarian, and his family not really as curious.
I think that these people know that their relatives were involved somewhat in what was going on. And when you're dealing with something that obviously was tragedy everywhere in it, you don't necessarily want to know.
Besides even just being about the Holocaust, it's also how people deal with trauma in their life and, you know, what that means for the people who experienced it, and then the offspring of those people, and then the distanced offspring of those people who can actually go back and ask questions without being quite so emotionally and painfully attached.
The people who are deconstructed as subjects in this film are fascinating. I mean, especially Arnon's mother.
This is a person who is almost seen in a very neutral, expressionless way, but the circumstances being what they are, you have to imagine what's going on inside of that person. It is riveting to see how stony she is on the exterior, know what she's been through. How is that woman possible? How does that woman exist in this way?
There's a part of the movie where they go and they visit some other family members who are cousins in Germany, and she's being told stories that she's never heard before. And it's interesting to see her sort of process that, because there is a sense that she's somewhat excited by this information, but there's another antithesis to that where we're not really sure if she wants to know this information.
Edda's background stems from the Nazi side of World War II, and she copes with things in a very similar way to Arnon's mother. The way she takes in information, you have to wonder whether she's, you know, a little bit delusional or what's going on, and she has an arc. By the end of this film, she changes as a person a little bit. Arnon plays a very grounded character that is very relatable. It's neat that he's not a huge part of this film because he is the director and that would sort of take you out of it. But he's there just enough that you have someone who you can latch onto.
Whenever he goes and meets another person that he's going to interview, we always shoot right behind him holding a bouquet. So we know he's going to meet someone new when you're walking behind Arnon holding a bouquet of flowers.
Which comes from his mom, who says he should always be prepared.
Yeah, oh, never come empty-handed.
Never come empty-handed. And he meets one of his grandmother's oldest friends, brings a bouquet there, and she says, your mother is correct about that.
This documentary has a lot of tension in it, from plot point to plot point. It does feel like a whodunit mystery in a lot of ways, and we're always wondering what happens next. Arnon does a very good job of leaving us like a little breadcrumb trail to keep us hooked.
Despite being called The Flat, this documentary is anything but. It's very interesting and might have you look up some of your own family history. So see it.
It brings up a lot of questions that I think a lot of audiences wouldn't think to ask. And it's really well told, so I say, see it.
This is a very unusual movie. It deals with Holocaust material in a very different way, and it's not emotionally exploitative, yet it's very, very powerful. So I say, see it.
Cheers!
Cheers!
Cheers. We cannot say the word fascinating anymore.
Yeah, we say it
like
so
12
much.
times today.
It's like the World War II version of catfish.